Hey guys, it's Katie, and let's break some rules in today's video. Welcome to today's collab to celebrate Erin's 20,000 subscriber achievement. Now, I have picked one of Erin's layouts off of Instagram. She also has a YouTube video sharing this layout, but just a couple of things. I'm loving the Erin clusters, as I call them. And then these 3 strips of paper, and there's some more clusters, as well as it just documenting her love of flowers. She has a green thumb, which I do not. I wish I did. This layout just screams her love of flowers, and it has so much of her personality in it. And I am so excited today to scrap lift her to celebrate her achievement. And I hope that I've done this layout a little bit of justice in what I have picked out to share with you today. In order to accomplish that layout, kind of not only her love of gardening and some embellishment aspects, I also kind of want to bring in the softness of the layout. And so I've chosen Sweet Memories. I have chosen the workshop kit. The workshop kit comes with your paper packet, your sticker sheet, your coordinating cardstock, as well as some exclusive die cuts and papers, pattern papers, meant for you to actually go through the color illustrated guide and create the projects that they have pre-designed for you. I usually just buy the kit just to kind of do my own thing because of the exclusive die cuts and pattern paper. So these are some of the die cuts. They are the paper board. I'm really liking these little floral pieces. Of course, all things hearts. And then I'm really kind of liking these little floors, these little kind of, I don't know what you call them, but those aspects. Those are really Erin, if you know what I mean. And here's a look at that sticker sheet. Some really big title options, which I love. Erin does a whole lot of little clusters of embellishments. So it helps when you have the paper board. I'm going to do some ink distressing. It also helps when you have stickers, and you can put some directly to the layout. You can add 3D foam tape to some, as well as some stamps. And then I have the paper packet. Now remember that our paper packet is double-sided, so you'll get one side on, you'll get a side on one, a side on the other, but you'll get 2 sheets of each. This makes it handy when you have a pattern that you don't really like, then you actually have 2 sheets of that. I love this camera. This camera pattern will definitely be used on this layout. And then, of course, that ledger. In my daytime job, in my real job, so to speak, I'm in the financial industry, and I love ledger paper. Love, love, love it. As well as notebook paper, all of that stuff. And then you have these 2 patterns. So you've got that periwinkle, and then you've got that sage. And then as far as the exclusive die cuts and pattern paper, this is only 1 sheet of the die cuts. So Erin's really big on doilies. She loves doilies as well as like round things to anchor her embellishment clusters. So I'm going to pull in a stamp set that's going to have that. And then I'm also kind of liking these die cuts right here. And then of course that little tag, another large title. And then here are the exclusive pattern papers. So I'm not sure if this is going to translate on camera, but you've got the sage background, and then you have the periwinkle on top, and that is that real pretty Victorian type pattern. Now these exclusive pattern papers are just plain on the back side, which also has its advantages. That way you don't have to choose between the 2 sides of paper. And then I'm loving this. It's like a wood grain, but it's got that light sage and even a mulberry kind of grain to it. Hope you guys can see that. And then here is the stamp set. Now this stamp set actually comes in the card making kit. So whereas I'm using the scrapbooking kit, I'm going to use the stamp set that comes with the card making kit pretty much for the sole purpose of that one right there. Again, she loves doilies. I do have an older doily that we used to have. It may still be on the website. It's just so intricate. That's just not me. So even though this layout is all about Erin, it does have to fit my style as well. as my photos. So that's going to be that one right there. And then I've pulled out my journaling strips. These make it really easy. They come in these 6x12 sheets and they're already sticky. You have 3/8 of an inch strips, and then you have 1/4 of an inch. Now I write big, so I usually prefer the 3/8, but you can just cut them to different lengths. So I've pulled those out because Erin's original layout has those. And then we have our new word strips. So I've pulled out what we're calling gray, but you can see here that it matches the exclusive paperboard die cuts that come with the Sweet Memories workshop kit. So that is my plan to use all of this. We'll see how that actually goes once I start cutting and assembling. Speaking of cutting, let me go cut all my stuff and I will be right back and we can get started. Here is a look at a card that I made years and years ago for one of Close to My Heart's conventions for one of the classes that I taught. And I just thought that the paper pleating would look really good with the Sweet Memories paper collection. So I have a 1-inch piece of cardstock, and you want to score at 1/4 of an inch, and then 1 inch and 1/4 of an inch and 1 inch. Now I did start off with 1/4 of an inch and then scored at 1 inch. And then I went to the 1/4 of an inch and 1 inch and 1/4 of an inch. That way my first pleat actually looks a whole lot like my last pleat. You'll see what I'm talking about here in just a second. And then you will just fold back those scores. It's not like an accordion fold, although you could do so many different pleats with this. The larger pleats also, because I'm using a masculine photo, it's going to be of our youngest son. The larger pleats aren't as feminine to me. Now I did spray this cardstock with water, and you can see I'm just crumpling that up. It's going to create texture. And then you could, at this point, you could ink up that. I'm not. I'm just going to go kind of repleat these. And because Close to My Heart's cardstock has that white core, a lot of that texture is going to show through just with the white core alone. I'm going to bring out a piece of mink cardstock. It's cut to 5 1/4 by 7 1/4 to see if I need to trim any of this down. And I don't think I do. So that was a 12-inch strip that once pleated, it's 7 1/4 inches long. Now, I like to adhere my pleats to a piece of cardstock. This is just a scratch white daisy piece of cardstock that measures 1/2 inch wide. And then I usually like to adhere it toward the top. If the top is stabilized, then you can kind of mess with the bottom just to add some more dimension. Now, these pleats are not adhered down whatsoever, so I'm just adding some liquid adhesive in between those pleats and then just holding those down and letting those dry. I will show you here in just a second some other alternatives using one of the pattern papers from the Sweet Memories. Here is a look at that. Now, I did stitch down the middle. You can see that stitching there. And then I did add some of that Distress Oxide ink to those bottoms of the pleats. And then it did shrink up quite a bit more. I did end up trimming some of that off. Now, these strips are edge distressed. You can either use your edge distresser, scissors, your finger. I also have a Tim Holtz edge distresser. To be honest, I'm really not a fan, but my Close to My Heart ones, the blades are kind of getting dull. But no, don't worry, you have the best tools right at your fingertips, literally. And I just love that paper, that edge distressing. It just adds so much dimension. You could even add some ink if you wanted to, but I decided not to on this one. Now, these strips are cut to 11 inches, and that leaves 1/2 inch at the top and 1/2 inch at the bottom. And then I am spacing those out at about 1/4 of an inch. I am going to make sure that they're straight using my T ruler and just the edge of that cardstock. This is the specialty cardstock from the workshop kit as my base. So here is where I began to break the rules. I've pulled out the Victorian Velvet Distress Oxide, but my photos, you can see here, number 1, aren't Victorian in any way, and number 2 have that orange in his shirt. So I've kind of wanted to use Distress Oxide, the Victorian Velvet, no matter what. So I am using the packaging technique where I just turned that over onto my all-purpose mat, sprayed it with some water, picked it up with just a 3D foam tape little package laying around, and then I'm just able to dab that onto my layout base as well as kind of up at the top over that pattern paper. Now I am going to add some layers. I do this often, but this is one of the things that is done in Erin's video. It creates texture as well as dimension. And speaking of dimension, I'm kind of running low on 3D foam tape. So I've gone ahead and I've actually popped out all of these little paperboard die cuts. So I decided to just use what's left over to adhere to the back of that photo mat. And that's going to allow me to have a little bit of dimension, not as much as I would if I use 3D foam tape. But because I'm trying to kind of conserve until I can get my order in, this actually kills two birds with one stone, and it also adds just a slight bit of dimension. This is also good for cards if you want to use that for cards or even scratch pieces of cardstock. We all know we save them with high hopes, but now you can just add them to the back of the dimension, like sentiments or something, and add that dimension. Now I adhered all of those down with liquid adhesive, and I'm going to adhere that down to my layout base. You can see those layers. Love that. Going to make sure that is straight and then go ahead and add my photo on top so we can start with all of the embellishing. Now my photo is adhered using 3D foam tape. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull out my little tray of goodies. Now these are those little doily type things from the card making workshop kit. I am going to trim that top one. And then I'm going to just kind of look through the die cuts. Now these are the exclusive die cuts that came with the scrapbooking workshop. And I kind of have those already in categories, if you will. I have my little flourishes and my little pennants over to the right. I have my hearts in the middle and then the tags and stuff. And then here is where we get to adhere down that pleat. It's probably one of my favorite things on this layout. I hope you like it as much as I do. And I think it just adds so much to the layout as well as that masculine component. So now that I have the little doilies in place, I can just start adding things. This is one of those gray word strips. I think that's going to be a perfect little spot for the date. And then this little viewfinder. It's small. I would kind of like a bigger one. The digital file for Sweet Memories actually comes with an SVG for a viewfinder, but I kind of didn't, I was being lazy. I didn't want to go over to my Cricut. I know you probably know how that feels. Now the sticker sheet does have a couple of stickers on it, mainly little word strip stickers that I'm going to use. I did try to use that crown, but it's a little bit too feminine. And then, you know, plus he's got just the orange shirt on. So even though I had dabbled in that Victorian velvet color, I didn't want it just screaming, hey, look at me, like that crown did. Now, as far as this cute little camera paper, hindsight, I probably would have put that big long strip of camera paper over to the left of those 3 strips to kind of anchor that. It's pretty bold, but I had some left over, and then I decided to fussy cut that out and then add that. I'll add it later here in just a second. And then I am just pulling out more embellishments, again, looking in my tray, seeing what will work. And then I found this little nameplate thing. Now this is from the card making workshop kit, the same one as those doilies. And then I am just going to add some of these little hearts. I have some of the mulberry, I have some of the periwinkle, and then I have some of that gray paper board. And then these strip stickers are just going to kind of go at the bottom left. I'm adding 3D foam tape directly to my layout base, and that way I don't have to guess at how far on the end of the back of the word stickers do I have to put that. So I like those down there. Now those, if in case you can't see it, those say snapshots and looking good. And then I just wanted something underneath this little ruffle to the right. it just wasn't looking right. So I just trimmed some of that periwinkle down, and then I'm going to add some more hearts up at the top left to kind of match the cluster that I've already done at the bottom right. I am using my pickup tool. It makes it really, really handy to pick up those small pieces. That little camera is going to go down by the date, and then I am adding one last strip sticker up at the top, and that one says, "Remember this." Now, the workshop comes with glitter gems, but I decided to pull out the evergreen glitter gems. It has that kind of grayish charcoal mist color in it, and I thought that that was perfect. Again, adding to the masculinity of this layout, even though it's Victorian paper, it's lace, it's all pretty things. I think by using those darker gems, it's going to kind of make the photo look like it belongs just a little bit more. So I'm going to finish off these glitter gems and then kind of work at that cluster up at the top left. Erin does so well at just knowing what she wants to put there. I do not. So I end up looking and playing and looking and playing, and believe it or not, I cut a lot out. But I like to put a lot of this in the video so you can kind of see my thought process, and maybe you do the same thing. So I want you to know you're not alone. So I'm going to add just a couple of more of those heart die cuts up at the top. I've got a periwinkle one, and then my last little mulberry one goes up there, and I think that that left cluster is done right now. I'm going to look it up or look at it, make sure it is right, and then I'm pulling out my strip, my journaling stickers. I'm measuring to see how long I want them, and I'm going with 3 inches. Truth be told, my go-to numbers are 3, 4, and 5. It just happens to work out that way. And I am just going to adhere those down at the bottom. And I only cut through 4 of them just in case I want to have longer lengths on those other ones. I only cut through the amount that I need. And then I'm going to pull out one of my Le Pens. This is a green color. I think it matches the sage really well. And so I'm just adding some of those triangle doodle dots just around all the clusters, the word stickers. And here is a close-up just of those doodle dots, the glitter gems, that ruffle, as well as that Victorian velvet distress oxide on my layout base. And that, folks, is it. I broke the rules and I used some Victorian inspired paper to document our sun. I also put bright orange with pink, if you will. Again, there are no rules in scrapbooking. Thank you so much for watching. I'll leave links down below to any of the products that I used. And remember that this video is celebrating Erin and her 20,000 subscribers. You can catch the playlist for the creative design team, as well as go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you're new here and haven't done so already. Thanks, and you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend.